So I've tried to define a number of stakeholders who are key for farmers. Farmers obviously being the point group, government, with government policy, all those supporting interventions that they are doing, and also, like we had before, GMB being the last market for grain. Funding institutions and stakeholders, tractors and implement suppliers, irrigation equipment suppliers, agri-imports suppliers, farmer mobilization, Mr. Makombe and other unions, including them, contract farming companies. We've already heard a lot about outdoor schemes and current organizations where farmers are working very well with backward integration and some occasions vertical integration. Food, feed, and industrial crops manufacturers. Already we had that 63% of industry relies on agriculture. Zim trade is fresh produce exporters, the stakeholders. Commodity exchange, already we saw one of our guys here presenting on commodity exchange. Universities, research, agricultural colleges, we see universities and innovation hubs, producing human resources in the form of agronomists. I've left and I've include their service providers, the companies that are providing transport, IT, talk of drones, all those things, trying to support farmers so that they are more productive. Government policy is one of the key stakeholders. Already government is using science, as you all know, to climate-proof farmers. This Fumbudza conservation tillage is definitely taken off, and we have seen the results talking, especially the small-scale farmer level. Government subsidy, again, providing the inputs that have guaranteed food security. We have heard recently, the government is already using satellite. If you look at Zimbabwe, in Africa, we have amongst the 10 countries that have got satellites that are working out there, and the information being coming from those satellites being very helpful for focusing weather and climate, so that as we get into this El Nino, we know as farmers we are better informed and make informed decisions. We've seen government also empowering agri-techs, motorbikes, iPads, so that they can be closer and be supportive to farmers in a more timely fashion. We've seen government being very, very aggressive in crowding in funding for farmers. We've seen coming in banks, three have been mentioned today already, and that has worked really to make sure that at the commercial farmer level, A1 and A2, in commercial farmers, this is working well. So that for their capex, requirements, the tractors, the implements, irrigation equipment, and certainly also for OPEX, for the annual budgets, we've seen that being very helpful. And, government coming in and guaranteeing this has been a source of comfort for farmers and success really. We've seen this past season, power was granted. A lot of people, in one time I remember it was at Art Farm, there was a discussion, are we going to be able to do wheat this year? I was very brave and saying the government will never allow us not to have wheat. And I'm happy it has happened. We've been guaranteed power, and we have a decent wheat crop, 90,000 hectares, and expecting over 400,000 tons of wheat this year, again higher than last year. Government guaranteeing prices for wheat, cotton, and maize through GMB, though like the PSF said, that's perhaps the last resort. For farming, really serious farming, I think allowing private sector to participate in that space makes more sense. The coming in of commodity exchange, legislation allowing that is good. Again, helping farmers to make sure that there is certainty on the markets. I've already mentioned GMB and Cotco. And promoting value chains. The Ministry of Industry and Commerce, we talk of wheat value chain, we talk of soybean value chain, cotton value chain, and all the horticulture that we are producing. I think it's also government providing the enabling environment, enabling legislation so that this continues in a big way. Caution, coming from government, the price of diesel, I think, for farmers continues to be a real threat. If you look at diesel in the region, diesel in Zimbabwe is the most expensive. That cost ends up nowhere other than ending at the farm. Next slide, please. Agriculture inputs, supplies, seeds and fertilizers. A lot of R&D going into there, making sure that farmers improve on productivity, differentiated hybrids and varieties coming in, hybrids for the maize, and certainly a lot of varieties of new varieties of wheat coming in, making sure that productivity is improved, yields are improved, other defensive traits are added to a lot of new varieties and new hybrids through a lot of R&D. Making sure that these new technologies get to the farmers through demonstrations, a lot of trials, and when it does that very well, making sure that farmers get all this information, new technologies, and supporting farmers with a lot of good agronomic information. In terms of agrochemicals, a lot of new chemistries coming in. We're talking of maybe some farmers using red paper labels or agrochemicals. Just to mention that there's Crop Life organization here where farmers, these companies are also self-regulating so that as much as possible, a lot of good chemistries end up being used on the farm. And I'm sure more and more we see a lot of this. We've seen universities working also to produce new varieties, innovation hubs, CIDIC. If you recall, there's a very short, ultra-short maize hybrid from CIDIC. So all these tend to improve what farmers are doing in terms of availing seeds and also availing fertilizers. Agronomists from the private sector supporting architects. It's really good and make sure that the farmer is not only relying on architects but also being complemented by private sector in terms of agronomy. Big threats, I always see this, I don't know, but prices of seeds and fertilizers, to me, it continues to be a big threat. I don't know where that comes from. If you look at regional parity, compare seeds, price of seeds in Zimbabwe, price of seeds in Zambia next time. I was just checking a number of hybrids, and this is true for all companies, a number of companies, I think 3, 4. Look at Pioneer, look at Seedco. Similar hybrids being grown in the two countries. On average, a 10 kg bag of Pioneer or any other hybrid, 10 kg, is about $41 here. In Zambia, the same hybrid, you get it for $27. Wonder what's happening. What's happening? But the end is that is increasing prices to farmers. One wonders, are farmers not paying for inefficiencies that are happening at company level? Because seed, also the seed that they produce, is being produced by us farmers anyway. Are we achieving the right yields so that we can also make sure that the companies that produce the seeds are efficient, more productive, so that these price disparities, which are really very questionable, are addressed. I'm sure you've heard government saying they have allowed imports of fertilizers for resale. I think this is good news. They want to make sure that the pricing is correct. I look at a situation where in future government would also look at the formula that are being used for the current locally produced seeds and locally produced fertilizers, in locally produced agrochemicals, so that really becomes fair to the farmer. There's a win-win situation, but if you look at the current situation today, I think we could do better if we could get more reasonable, fair pricing so that farmers get some better value, because ultimately it all ends up with farmer. Next slide, please. Mechanization and irrigation, I think we all know. There's that, particularly if it's mechanization, government has crowded in a lot of suppliers, Belarus, John Deere, local companies doing Ford tractors, New Holland. It's really helping farmers to make sure that good tractors are available, more powerful tractors are available. Currently, we have 10,300 tractors in the country. We require up to 40,000. A lot of effort is being done to make sure that all these are available through banks, working with the local suppliers. John Deere program, the Belarus program is working very well. I'm sure we'll get there to the 40,000 that we require as a country. By the end of 2022, we had 203,000 hectares under irrigation. By 2025, the goal is to have 250,000. And we had the PS talking of opportunities that come from Topen Kosi, Kyle Dam, a lot of these big investments that have been made that have not yet been harnessed so that there is better productivity. And all these initiatives done by government are going to make sure that farmers at farmer level productivity is really increased. We talk of 5 tons per hectare for maize on average, but I can see with irrigation that yield of maize can go as much as 8 tons per hectare. So, combination of good tractors, combination of improved irrigation, center pivots, see a lot of migration from lateral irrigation sprinklers moving on to center pivots in the number of companies in the country, and making sure that all these new technologies are available, good competition, but ultimately, again, is the farmer that is going to benefit. Obviously, another threat is the price of money when farmers borrow to get this equipment. Tractors, the center pivots, is the price of money that is, threatening the farmer. So, one would also say again, let's look at even the price of money, so that farmers can get soft money, so that they can work more comfortably and produce and make sure that there is productivity that is improved. Next slide, please. Zim trade and horticulture, we've seen over the years that Zim trade has been very aggressive in opening up markets, not only for other industries, but we've seen very focused growth of horticulture exports. 64.6 million in 2021, up from 59 million in 2020, and they are looking at even beyond 71 million by end of 2023. Zimstrad's role, I think you agree, is very visible, very aggressive. We are seeing a lot of work happening right there. We've seen, UAE coming in, China coming in for our citrus. All that is meant to benefit farmers. New crops coming in, blueberries growing, macadamia, avocados, all these efforts making sure that productivity is increased at the farmers level, but also make sure that foreign currency comes into the country by our supporting our very active farmers. Obviously, farmers have a job to produce, but also you find that in horticulture, export in particular, talk of manchtu, talk of courgettes, blueberries, we are competing not in Africa with Kenya in a big way, competing at the same time with South America in terms of reaching Europe. So the onus is on us as farmers to make sure that production is improved. We time ourselves and reach the markets when there is a good space and the market is hungry for our products. Up to now, we all know that the prices of blueberries is very good so far, but obviously South America is also had a poor crop so far. Food, feed, next slide please. Initiatives coming out of food, feed, industrial crops. CZI working very hard, closely with farmers, make sure that that 63% feedstock that is required by industry, comes in as much a smooth way as possible from farmers. We've seen a lot of contract growing for maize. Some of those products they're coming from maize, Buku, of Nyati, breweries, all those relying on maize coming from farmers, and a lot of contract growing coming up there. Wheat, barley, a lot of contract farming coming there, and obviously funding coming from CBZ, and tripartite arrangements being made. CBZ coming in, working with some industry that will consume wheat for this year. So, it's really working very well. We've seen a lot of oranges being produced, also feeding into, if you look at what is happening in Bedbridge, where Mazoe and Schweppes are working very hard to produce oranges for local, but also a lot for export. So, contract farming, I think, is the way to go if we are going to avoid working or waiting for government to pay us from GM. But also, I think, private sector, CZI, is a prerogative to guarantee their feedstock by working closely with farmers. And I think for those companies that are doing it, we've seen a lot of successes being scored, and we're seeing a lot of improvements happening, or the hectares being contracted for maize, for soybean, for wheat going up. We used to know of United refineries growing mainly in the Midlands area. We've seen they're coming up here, expanding their requirements for soybean, which is important for us as farmers to benefit from those arrangements. The guaranteed inputs provided, but also there's a guaranteed market at a guaranteed price, which to me works. It's a win-win situation where farmers are coming in, knowing that the inputs are available on time. They are focused on what they know best. When they produce, they know the market is there at a known price. It's a really a very typical example of a win-win situation where private sector is working well to make sure that farmers support their own factories, but also make sure that farmers focus on what they know best in terms of farming production. And we've seen this happening even with livestock, poultry. We know Ivins and many other companies, Ukuru, supporting farmers, giving this on term, providing the feed. In 6 weeks' time, they come and collect the chickens ready for the market. So it's really working, and farmers, you see, they remain focused on what they know best, which is definitely making sure that farming is done on time. And we've seen also this going even with beef cattle, dairy. Farmers being supported with all the chemicals that they need for their dairy cows, and making sure that milk is produced and delivered on time for more production. And we've seen expansions happening in milk production, all because there's a good connectivity, linkage between farmers at their level, support from government, but also the industry, making sure that the farmers themselves are producing. We've seen Dairy Board and a number of occasions, even supporting farmers importing dairy cattle, so that even our genetics are improved locally. And these are the type of things that make sure that farmers stay and get focused on what they know best, which is production. Inputs are available, improved genetics is available, and government has got legislation that supports farmers at their level. Next slide. Farmer mobilization, Zimbabwe Commercial Farmers Union, CFU, Zimbabwe Farmers Union, all those, all meant to make sure that farmers are mobilized, organized, so that when they get support, it's in an organized manner. One always can ask, do we need all those many unions? Obviously, it's a democratic country that question can always be discussed. But if you look again, like for a country like, example Zambia, I always give example of Zambia. I did 10 years there. One union, you find that most of their issues are channeled through one leadership. Tends to be more organized, but it's a topic for another day. We've seen at farmer level organizations or association of farmers. These have been very, very effective. Make sure that farmers get support services from Goromonzi, where I come from, linking with soil testing facilities, linking us to get cheaper fuel in ZWL, making sure that we get this contract farming, reaching out to industry so that our farmers can grow on contract soybean, maize. All these associations get stronger and make sure that farmers are well informed. And definitely this is very, very, very helpful. Linking farmers to transport, linking farmers to other services, like the use of drones, like I was saying. We've seen drones being used not only for spraying, but also being used to capture information on soil differences in the soils and differences in crops, checking for diseases and pests in crops. So again, it's the associations lobbying and making sure that these technologies are availed to farmers. And also security on farms. I think we used to think it's only South Africa where there are problems of security. We have seen that happening more and more in our commercial farms, and working with ZRP in associations and making sure that farmers stay safe and they keep focused with minimum issues of insecurity. Farmer associations are, of course, working very hard to make sure that markets are there, but also making sure that inputs and markets remain guaranteed. One area which I thought is very important to talk about in terms of one stakeholder that is very important, it's universities and colleges. I don't know others, but we've seen, I think we've always been so happy to employ managers coming out of universities, managers coming out of colleges, thinking that because I also went to university, if I employ a manager from university or from college, it's easy for us to communicate. But in many times, and I know talking from a number of farmers in our area and in other parts of the country, most of these employed young managers, they are more of a problem than adding value. I was thinking, I think in their curriculum they need to add one subject that is called ethics and compliance. They come, instead of focusing on production, you've delivered fertilizer, you've delivered chemicals, they have access to those, instead of producing, but 20-30% of your chemicals are being sold. And this is, to me, it's a big threat. It's a big threat to production, and universities, colleges, I think they have a big job to do so that they can support farmers, and we want to employ. We need to employ these young people. It's easier for us from experience to be talking the same language with them, but boy, I can tell you, since 2008, on the farm myself, I fired 18 managers. Yes. Well, because when I interview, I tell them I have an agricultural background. I was a farm manager at Ada from my university days. But I went on the path. I went back to university and did a master's in agriculture. That's the only job that I know. So be careful. We don't want you to steal. We don't want you to lie. And for 10 years when I was in Zambia, I would come back every month. He has applied a chemical that he doesn't understand on the seedbed. We have 10 acres of tobacco to grow. All of it has been killed. What do? You can keep that person. You do chickens, you're selling the chicks, you happen to go to a shop, you delivered with him and ask, oh, you have some money to collect. How much is it? Oh, no, your guy came to collect the money. But did we not say we had $6 a bag? No, actually, he changed the price to $8. And he collected the money. And this is someone from a tobacco training college. In fact, the tobacco trained manager is the manager, his assistant also from the same college. So, it's worrying. I don't know whether it is true I know it's true with a lot of farmers. But I'm also discomfort with a lot of guys who never saw the door of a college. We have been born and bred and trained on a farm. I'm lucky to have bumped into one who came when I was just about to plant my tobacco. Amazing. I've never had such a good seedbed. I've never had such a good tobacco crop of tech. So there are people out there. But I think we need a lot of help so that our colleges provide people that are useful. This thing of quick money, unfortunately, it's not only with them. I don't know how many of you saw a price for breakfast from Holiday Inn. It's crazy. It's crazy. How do you have breakfast for $40? But I think it's something permeating within Zimbabwe. We price for quick money. We don't price for the long term. We are hitting our farmers. These prices, I said $27 for a bag of 10 kg bag. See, it's $41 here. This is like 41% high in USD. It's crazy. So I think we need to be cautious as farmers. We need a win-win situation. Obviously, we are lucky that our Ministry of Agriculture, the government through the Ministry of Agriculture, very articulate, very focused. The combination of the minister, with previous peers, current peers, all technocrats in their own right, making sure that the strategies in that ministry are in sync with what government expects. You know, this initiative in Kumbudza, proven technology, working very well. Crowding in banks by government is working well. Value chains, we've also, I know, Sekai working with former Minister Nzenza, worked very hard to make sure that these value chains work very effectively. And that's what we did, so that private sector continues to get involved in production, provide support to farmers, and make sure that more and more we leave GMB to be the last resort. So again, like I said, it's price. It's to look at the threats of fuel to make sure that us as farmers, we achieve those yields expected. Soybean 4 tons, and irrigation 8 tons of wheat, and the like. That's what we want. We are passionate as farmers. We are passionate as agronomists. We want to make sure that the win-win situation that has been started can only grow to the next level. Thank you so much.